Hey guys, welcome to the Sim Racing Paddock. I'm William Marsh, and in front of me is the Logitech G27. This was the best-selling sim racing wheel in the early 2010s, and it really cemented Logitech's reputation for being a solid budget mid-range wheel back in the day. So I never owned this wheel myself. I actually owned its predecessor, the Logitech G25, and I used that from about 2009 to 2013. But I've always wanted to take a look at the G27, and now it's an interesting time because this wheel is about 8 years old now. So the question is, how does the G27 stack up in 2018? So opening the box, we see that this is actually the original box because in around 2014, there was a rebranding for Logitech, and all of Logitech's products were rebranded. So this is actually the original box that ran from around 2010 to 2013. So this is an OG G27, and opening it, I took a look and there's reason to believe this is new. This might be a new G27 I bought for $80. They still have the shrink wrap on a lot of the stuff, or actually it's a shrink wrap in the box, but most notably, the software is sealed. The software that came with this wheel is still sealed. Actually, hold on. On second thought, it might not be sealed. Yeah, this was open before, but the previous owner took great care in keeping this in great condition. But yeah, actually, the pedals, they're still tied. So the cables are tied as well. So this might have been one of my best ever hauls on Craigslist. But still, this is a great value. So the shifter, it's interesting because if we look at the Logitech G29 and G920, the shifter is sold as a standalone accessory, but I still think the G27 is a better value because you get 8 buttons on it and you also have the directional pad. But I still think this might be new. The protective wrap is still on it. I can peel the wrap off it. Hold on. Yeah, the protective plastic was never taken off. So did I get a new G27 for 80 bucks? This is interesting. Yeah. Protective plastic, never taken off. That is trippy. But so, let's talk about some of the differences of the G27 versus the G25. So the G27 and G25, and also the G29 and G920, they use the same 11-inch or 280 millimeter diameter wheel. So it's a smaller rim. They're all wrapped in a leather that actually feels pretty good. I would have liked it to be a little more cushiony, but it definitely serves its purpose. The paddle shifters on the side, very clicky. This brings back memories of my G25, but very satisfying. And this 3-pedal set, I think it's one of the best entry-level sets because one of the great things is you can mod it. There are a myriad of different mods available for this pedal set that you could get, say, a load cell for the brake or the Nixon mod. You can get springs to make the gas pedal a little stiffer because personally, in my opinion, I think the gas pedal on it was one of the weaker points. And then the clutch had a nice feel to it. So this is very nice. And this is mint condition. And I think that this will be fun to test out. So this has 8 plus 6 is 14. 14 buttons on the wheel and a directional pad. So it should be able to access the majority of PlayStation controls. And we will test this on the PlayStation 4. And one of the ways we will do that is via the Cronus Max Drive Hub. And I will go to that in a little bit. But first, let's just talk about this. So 11-inch rim wrapped in leather, satisfying paddles, solid pedals with good modability, and the shifter, it might leave a little to be desired, but it's a good set. I would definitely recommend something like this package. And I'd say if you got a used G27 for under $200, that would be a great deal. For 80 bucks, I'm kind of mind blown that I was able to pick this up, but I'm happy. So now let's get this mounted to a cockpit and see how the G27 stacks up in 2018. For my testing on the PlayStation 4, I used my PlayStation 4 Pro on my LG C7P OLED 4K TV. I used the Cronus Max Drive Hub from Collective Minds, and it worked actually pretty darn well. Note that you will essentially need to sacrifice one DualShock 4 controller by plugging it into the Drive Hub, and then you will likely want to have a second DualShock 4 handy so you can access different functions that you can't access with the G27. Force feedback felt surprisingly good with the G27. The forces through the wheel felt nearly identical to what I felt with the Logitech G29. Both the G27 and G29 use the same dual motor helical geared force feedback system, so it's not exactly surprising the wheels feel similar, but I expected there to be something in the way of an added dead zone or force feedback lag because of the Drive Hub. Note that there is a sort of natural force feedback dead zone in the wheel, where forces feel a little deadened around the center, but that is because of the design of the wheel, not the Drive Hub. What's nice too is that even the rev lights on the G27 worked on both Gran Turismo Sport and Dirt 4, which is both titles I tested on the PS4. Let's talk a little bit about the performance of the G27 and how, in my opinion, it stacks up with a modern competitor. Compared to the G29, I'd almost prefer the G27, which features a more attractive design, included shifter, and nearly identical functionality and force feedback. The only reason I'd recommend the G29 or G920 above the G27 is the native console compatibility and the fact that all the wheels buttons are on the wheel rim. Oh, and don't forget that the G29 and G920 has a rotary encoder as well, which can be a nice touch for customizing controls such as brake bias or turbo boost mapping. However, if I was blindfolded, I would be hard pressed to tell the difference between the G27 and its younger siblings. One other thing I want to mention is that when you start comparing the G27 to wheels such as the Thrustmaster T300 RS or the Fanatec CSL Elite and other mid-range wheels, that's when the G27 really starts to falter. In the past 8 years, wheel technology has advanced in leaps and bounds, including the utilization of belt-driven force feedback technology and more powerful motors. If you've driven with a modern Fanatec or Thrustmaster wheel, a Logitech G27 will feel almost lethargic in comparison. The newer wheels are so much quicker and a lot more powerful, being able to communicate the car's behavior to you in a much more precise manner. Best of all, these new wheels are commonly being sold at around the same price as what the G27 originally sold for, so that means we are seeing more and more advanced technology becoming more and more accessible to the masses. When we look at the pedals, I will compare the Logitech pedals to its nearest competitors, the Thrustmaster T3PA, and I'm gonna have to give the edge to the G27 in this category. The G27 pedals are still a very good set and have a lot of tricks up its sleeve. You can modify the pedals by swapping out springs, putting in a load cell, or even removing the pedals from the base and mounting them individually. Even out of the box, I feel the G27 pedals outperform Thrustmaster's offerings. Well, unless you count the conical brake mod in the T3PA, then I'd give them the edge. In terms of shifters, it's absolutely no contest. Logitech solidly brings up the rear of the field. Fanatec and Thrustmaster have each developed solid shifters that perform very well and can swap between H-pattern and sequential. For the Logitech G27 and G29 and G920, Logitech took the same tech behind the G25 and then removed the sequential shifter. What you get in return is a shifter that feels somewhat mushy and toy-like. On the bright side, the G27 shifter is the only one that comes with the wheel and pedal set compared to $100 to $200 extra that you would need to spend for Thrustmasters or Fanatics. However, the shifter does leave a lot to be desired. So let's get to the bottom line. How does the G27 fare in 2018? Well, maybe not too surprisingly, it fares pretty darn well. When driving in games like Gran Turismo Sport and Dirt 4, it feels just about identical to its younger brother, the G29. The force feedback technology, while dated, can still transmit a decent feel through the wheel into your hands. The pedals are also some of the best mainstream potentiometer-based pedals out there and can be modded to your liking. I know some sim racers out there that still swear by their modded G27 pedals, and for good reason. The shifter is something I would highly recommend upgrading though, and the Drive Hub fortunately does support third-party shifters, so if you wanted to use a TH8 RS shifter with a G27 on the PS4, you can do it. Only problem, you lose out on the majority of the buttons, so you may want to have the G27 shifter set up alongside as well. But all in all, the Logitech G27 still holds up quite well in 2018. If you can find a G27 in decent shape for under $200, it could be a solid first wheel, or second if you're upgrading from something like a Thrustmaster T80 or something like that. So, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Did you use a Logitech G27 in the past, or are you still using one now? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.